The scoreboard glared. 0-2. 70 minutes gone. The stadium's collective breath was a shudder of despair. On the bench, Kenji watched through a ghostly chessboard. Glowing lines traced every player's position, every possible move.
Again, the grid is back. I can see the next 10 moves of everyone on the pitch.
We're going down without a fight. Someone do something. Show me you are not just corpses.
Hannah's ankle twisted under a tackle. She hit the ground, screaming, her jersey torn.
Medic. And cover the right, they'll exploit the gap. Sato, talk to them.
Kenji, the coach is calling your number. Get up. This is your moment. My heart is a war drum. The grid pulses brighter. They're all pieces, and I can see the checkmate.
Kenji, I am putting you in. If you've got any of that pattern nonsense in you, now's the time to prove it.
He rose, and the ghostly lines flared into a burning grid. The relegation final had just found its wildcard, but the grid was not new. It had haunted him since childhood, a gift mistaken for madness.
The patterns were always there. I could see where everyone would move before they did.
Doctors called it complex delusion, a misfiring brain. They showed him scans of abnormal activity.
They said I was imagining it, so I stopped talking. 3 seasons on the bench.
In the locker room, he sat alone, the grid flickering at the edges of every practice, never trusted to play.
No one believed. So I buried it deep, until now, when I have no choice.
The crowd's roar shattered the memory, dragging him back to the present.
The grid is solidifying, sharper than ever. The pieces are set.
From the sideline, he saw the chessboard overlay the field, every player's future path glowing.
This time, I'll make them see. I'll move the pieces myself.
As his foot met the grass, the grid erupted into diamond-sharp clarity. 10 moves ahead, every line burning with cold certainty.
I can see it. The opposing striker will stumble in 6 moves. Their keeper's weight will shift 8 moves out. Exactly. And there, a passing lane that won't exist for 2 more seconds. It's a ghost path, but I can thread it blind. Taro, drop it to me here, now.
Without turning his head, Kenji launched a pass that defied geometry, arcing past 3 defenders into Hana's sprinting path.
I am on it. Yes, it's in.
The stadium exploded. A wave of noise that shook the floodlights. Relegation wasn't dead yet.
But the moment the net rippled, a white-hot spike drove through my skull. The vision carved a fresh neural scar, crackling with static agony.
On the halfway line, Ryu's eyes narrowed. He had watched the entire impossible sequence with preternatural stillness. For the first time, an opponent had noticed the strings. The chessboard had a second player, and he was watching.
The grid shows Taro's diagonal run in 6 moves. The defender will rotate late. I'll play him through.
He struck the pass with surgical intent, the ball slicing through the air on a calculated trajectory. But Ryu had already shifted. He stepped into the passing lane as if he knew the exact moment Kenji would release it.
Number. That was my line. How could he read the grid?
A jolt of feedback hammered Kenji's skull. Blood began to seep from his nose. Across the field, Ryu's eyes met his with a cold, knowing smirk. He had seen the unseen.
He isn't guessing. He's reading the board. This has become a chess duel.
Kenji, what was that? That pass should have found me. It was wide open.
I need to push deeper. See more moves. Outthink him before the grid collapses.
But the grid already felt heavier, the lines trembling with static at the edges of his vision.
If I can just calculate 14 moves ahead, Ryu can't possibly react to that.
A surge of information flooded his mind, trajectories, weight shifts, counterfeints. The grid pulsed like an overclocked processor. He released a quick 1-2 with Hana, then disguised a through ball to Taro on the wing. But Ryu was already sliding into the lane.
I saw his interception 6 moves ago, yet he arrived exactly when the ball did. My grid is being read.
Kenji staggered, jagged static crackling along his temple. His nosebleed had worsened, painting his jersey crimson.
Kenji, you are bleeding. You are pushing yourself too hard. Let us help you play the ball.
I am giving you 2 minutes to get your head straight, Kenji. Don't make me regret this.
Number. I can still win. The grid can find the flaw in his pattern. I just need to see deeper.
He attempted a triple pass sequence, each ball movement pre-calculated to bypass Ryu's expected zone. But Ryu adjusted, absorbing the pattern into his own web. The grid began to fracture, lines splitting into double images. The clock on the scoreboard showed 13 minutes left. The half-time whistle felt like a reprieve. Kenji stumbled into the locker room, head throbbing with static.
My reflection. The grid is burned into the glass. A permanent scar, even here.
Kenji, you are scaring me. The blood, your eyes are glowing. You have to tell us what's happening.
You want to know? Every time I use it, a piece of my brain dies. But if I don't, we're finished.
Then I'll run wherever you tell me. I'll be the piece you move. Trust me, Kenji.
Kenji, I've seen the scans. You are burning yourself out. I am pulling you if you collapse.
Don't pull me. I can still find the winning move. I won't stop until the final whistle.
The coach said nothing, but his clipboard trembled in his grip. He had seen too many young players burn out. The team marched back into the roar. The grid still flickered around Kenji, but his steps were heavier now.
This is the only way. Calculation over instinct. I'll prove the grid can win, even if it breaks me.
The second half kicked off, and Ryu immediately clamped down. Every passing lane Kenji saw was already occupied by a shadow.
The grid is screaming with false positives. Every move I calculate, he has a counter move waiting.
Kenji forced a long ball, hoping to break the pattern, but the moment of connection sent a spike of agony through his neural pathways.
I can't stop. If I stop calculating, the grid collapses completely.
The crowd's murmur turned to gasps. They saw him stumble, blood now dripping freely onto the turf.
Kenji, snap out of it. You are not a computer. Play like a human or you'll kill yourself out there.
A human. But the grid is all I have.
And then, as Ryu moved to intercept another pass, Kenji saw it. A dark chessboard overlaying his own, mirroring every line with cold precision.
He has a grid too. A counter grid. He's been using my own vision against me.
The two grids crackled against each other, visible static arcing along the center circle. The chess duel had become a war.
The grid is a blizzard of vectors. Every calculated pass, Ryu's dark mirror intercepts before I even move.
He tried a threaded pass to Hana, but Ryu's slide tackled the space a half-second before the ball arrived.
My vision is splitting. I see the real field and the grid at once, overlapping like broken glass.
Taro burst into a diagonal run, a reckless gap opening in the defense. Kenji's grid painted a red X over the passing lane.
If I pass, Ryu will intercept 9 moves later. The grid says it's futile, but Taro's eyes are screaming for the ball.
Kenji, the pass. I am wide open. What are you waiting for?
Kenji froze, the ball at his feet. An opponent stole it easily, and the counterattack surged forward.
The grid showed 10 conflicting futures in that moment, all of them wrong. It betrayed me.
Ryu, leading the break, allowed a cold smirk. The dark grid pulsed, constricting around Kenji's mind.
I can't trust the grid, but without it, I am blind, which is the real trap.
Kenji tried to clear his mind, but the grid clung to his vision like a second skin, refusing to dim.
Ryu isn't just mirroring, he's anticipating my anticipation. It's a recursive loop with no exit.
The realization sent a fresh surge of blood from his nose, staining his mouth with iron.
That's it, Kenji. You are coming off. I won't watch you destroy yourself.
But Kenji waved violently, his hand slashing the air in refusal. The crowd, sensing his earlier hesitation, began to boo, a low, guttural sound of frustration.
If I act, he counters. If I don't, I fail. The loop makes every decision wrong.
Ryu's dark grid pulsed brighter, feeding on Kenji's paralysis, tightening its grip. Static crackled along Kenji's neck. The coach reached for the substitution board, but Kenji locked eyes with him.
I won't leave. Not until the final move, even if the grid devours me. I have to see further. 15 moves ahead. The recursive loop must have a flaw.
The grid exploded outward, projecting 15 future positions in a single, agonizing pulse. The feedback drove him to one knee. A crimson stream flowed from his nose onto the grass. The referee knelt beside him, But Kenji shook his head, jaw clenched against the pain.
The grid compiled. Every single future line terminated in a red X. Defeat was absolute.
Kenji, get up. We need you. What's happening?
Ryu watched, arms crossed, the dark grid still pulsing. His expression held no pity, only the calm of inevitability.
The grid is the trap. He's allowed me to see only the paths he controls.
The scoreboard glared, 1-2. 85 minutes. Every path led to the abyss.
The grid shows no future but failure. Yet, I still can't let go. What else is there?
As Kenji knelt, the grid seized, and a grotesque hallucination shattered his vision. His own corpse on the pitch, the grid lying in fragments around it.
My own corpse. The grid completely silent. Is this what comes after I push too far?
The medical team sprinted onto the field, a stretcher rattling. But Kenji's hand snapped up, shoving the nearest medic aside.
Don't touch me. I am not leaving this field until the final whistle.
Slowly, he rose, ignoring the protests. And when his eyes opened, they crackled with raw static electricity.
If the grid is a trap set by Ryu, then I'll spring it willingly. I'll push my brain until the trap breaks.
Across the field, Ryu tilted his head, a flicker of genuine curiosity breaking his cold mask.
You are not a god. This chessboard has more than just black and white. I'll show you a move you can't predict.
The dark grid pulsed in challenge, but Kenji's own light grid flared with reckless, blinding intensity, a declaration of war. The clock read 88 minutes. Kenji had chosen the path of no return. The game would be decided by nerve, not calculation.
I'll force 20 simultaneous future lines. If the trap has a flaw, a flood of data will reveal it.
The grid erupted across the entire stadium, every player transformed into a glowing chess piece on a colossal board. Ryu's dark grid sprang to life, mirroring each vector perfectly. Lightning sparked where the two grids touched.
Match me, Ryu. I'll burn every neuron until you break.
The crowd gasped, a psychic pressure rippling outward as the duel became visible. A war of light and shadow. Kenji's nose bled freely, his blood pooling at his feet. Dark spots ate at his periphery.
Every path, checkmate. He's anticipated every sequence. The grid shows no escape.
The two grids crackled in the center circle, a silent, terrible stalemate.
89 minutes. I am drowning in futures, and they all end in defeat.
Kenji stood trembling, the stalemate holding. Time bled away. The chessboard had no mercy. The clock struck 89 minutes, a death knell that echoed through the stadium.
The grid's final report. Every single future line terminates in a red X. Defeat is absolute.
Ryu stood firm, arms crossed, the dark grid pulsing with quiet, inevitable finality.
Kenji, forget the patterns. Just trust me and put the ball into space.
My mind is a hurricane of static. The real field is drowning beneath the grid.
Vision and reality merged into a single, screaming chaos. Kenji could barely distinguish player from piece. Then, at the edge of his dying sight, Taro made a run. An overlapping, reckless, illogical dart into the box.
A run. The grid never computed. No line, no vector, no prediction. Just pure human instinct.
The run struck the grid like a hammer, and the chessboard exploded into 1,000 glittering fragments.
The grid is gone. The future is blank. The only move left is trust.
Kenji let his eyelids fall. The last stubborn grid fragments dissolved into the darkness of his own mind.
No vectors, no futures. For the first time in years, the only thing in my mind is the game's raw pulse.
He opened his eyes to a world stripped of chessboards, just grass, bodies, instinct, without calculation, without foresight. He drew his leg back and struck the ball in pure, desperate reflex. The ball left his foot without a glowing trail. Only a simple, human parabola toward the penalty box.
The grid is silent. My brain, for once, quiet. This is terrifying, exhilarating freedom.
Taro, already mid-stride, adjusted to the pass, his run a wild, untamed dart. The ball arced through the air. No magic, just physics and trust.
Trust. That's all I have. The future is a blank slate, and that is the point.
The stadium held its breath. The ball entered the danger zone where chaos and glory collided. Taro threw himself horizontal, the ball meeting his forehead with a sound like a gunshot. Kai lunged, but the unexpected trajectory froze him, his dive a half-second too late. The ball kissed the inside netting, then rippled the white mesh like a shockwave. The stadium erupted, a roar that shook the foundations, a collective release of 20,000 held breaths.
It went in. I didn't calculate. I just played. The grid is silent, and it's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard.
Then his knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the turf, eyes fixed on the blank, starless sky.
Kenji, you did it. Wait. Someone get the medics. He's not moving.
The scoreboard flickered. 2-2. Relegation, for a moment, was no longer a certainty. Ryu's dark grid dissolved. And for a single heartbeat, his expression held not coldness, but recognition. Kenji lay still, the grass stained crimson beneath him. The equalizer had come at a price no one yet understood. The medical team swarmed like a blur of white, cutting away his jersey, pressing gauze to his temple.
No, Kenji. You said you'd make them see. Don't you dare leave us now.
He's bleeding from his eyes. What's happening?
The referee pointed to the center circle, signaling the goal, then glanced at his watch with a grimace. Across the field, Ryu stood motionless, the dark grid dissolving into wisps of smoke. His gaze held no coldness, only a warrior's recognition. He gave a single, imperceptible nod, then turned away as if to say, "You earned it."
He sacrificed himself for this goal. The least we can do is survive these last minutes.
The stadium, still thunderous, now carried an undertone of hushed fear. Celebration mixed with prayers. The scoreboard flickered 2-2, the clock still counting down. Relegation had been beaten back, but at a brutal cost. Kenji was lifted onto a stretcher, motionless, the fresh scar on his temple stark against his pale skin. The tunnel swallowed the stretcher, the roar of the crowd becoming a muffled prayer. Every soul in the stadium rose, not in celebration, but in raw recognition of the price paid on that pitch. The medical room sealed behind him with a soft hiss, the chaos of the world replaced by beeping monitors. His face, pale and scarred, was serene. The frantic calculations had finally ceased. A faint, ghostly grid line flickered at the edge of his unconscious mind, the last fragment of the power that had consumed him. It wavered, then dissolved into nothing, like a dying star collapsing into a silent void. Silence reclaimed the space where the chessboard had once burned with impossible light. Outside, the final whistle blew, but inside this room, a different clock was ticking. The scar on his temple was now the only evidence of the gift that had nearly devoured him. Kenji lay still, breathing shallowly, the grid gone forever. The chessboard had finally released its prisoner. Silent hours drifted before Kenji's eyes finally fluttered open to the sterile white glow of the medical room. Slowly, he raised his hands into the dim light, turning them over, as if seeing them for the first time.
No vectors, no glowing lines, just skin and bone. I never knew silence could feel this heavy.
A nurse entered, her voice muffled like a distant radio. He nodded without hearing, his focus still trapped in the hollow of his mind. With effort, he pushed himself upright, the bandages pulling at his temple where the grid had once burned brightest. Beyond the glass, the pitch lay vacant, the grass dewy and still under the first light of dawn.
That field was my chessboard. Now it's just grass and air, and strangely, that's enough.
His fingers drifted to the scar, tracing the angry new ridge, a permanent reminder of the cost.
I can't see the future anymore, but for the first time, I can live in the present.
A faint smile broke through the exhaustion, small but true, as the weight of the chessboard finally lifted. The door burst open, and Taro stumbled in, eyes red and swollen, breath ragged from running.
Kenji, you are awake. That goal. I thought I'd lost you forever.
Before Kenji could protest, Taro wrapped him in a fierce embrace, shoulders shaking with sobs.
A hug. No vectors needed to understand this. Taro was always the heart of the team.
We did it, Kenji. We survived because of you. The table doesn't lie. We're safe.
You put your brain on the line for us. That debt won't be forgotten.
You are a reckless fool, Kenji. But you are our fool, and because of that madness, we're staying up.
Kenji said nothing. He simply nodded, the weight of their words settling into his chest with unfamiliar warmth. The team gathered around his bed, a quiet fortress against the aftermath of the war on the pitch. He closed his eyes, the grid a distant memory, and for the first time felt the presence of his team more clearly than any calculation. As the team's celebration echoed behind him, Kenji slipped away, a shadow moving toward the tunnel. The tunnel walls flickered with distant light, the roar of the team turning into a murmur, then silence. He emerged at the mouth of the tunnel, the empty pitch stretching before him under the pale moonlight.
The grid was everywhere. Every line, every future. Now, it's just grass.
He raised a hand to his temple, fingers tracing the fresh scar, a permanent map of the cost.
This scar, it's the price of seeing too much. The price of forgetting how to be human.
A single tear traced a silent path down his cheek, falling into the grass below.
The pitch is a chessboard, but only those who forget the pieces can truly win.
The words echoed softly, swallowed by the vast silence of the empty stadium. He stood there, released from the endless calculations, and simply watched the grass. The discharge came with the setting sun. Kenji walked through the stadium gate, a single bag slung over his shoulder. The night sky stretched above, clear and infinite, a canvas without lines. He paused, turning to look back at the floodlit arches one last time.
That place held my greatest victory and my deepest scar. Both are a part of me now.
He touched the scar gently, a ritual of remembrance, then let his hand fall. A faint, peaceful smile broke through, not of victory, but of release. Without a backward glance, he turned and walked into the quiet streets. Each step was a choice, uncalculated, human. The grid was a ghost now, fading with the stadium lights into the darkness.
Forward. Just forward. That's the only move I need.
Years later, Kenji stood on the sidelines, a scarf wrapped loosely around his neck, covering the scar. His eyes, once filled with glowing vectors, now watched only the raw, joyful chaos of the young players before him.
I don't see moves. I see their hearts. The grid taught fear, but this trusts what can't be calculated.
He smiled, the scar hidden but never forgotten, as a child made a daring, unpredictable run.
The real chessboard is in here.
The camera pulled back from the field, the stadium lights beginning to dim. The grid was a ghost, a memory of a battle won not by calculation, but by trust. Kenji turned, his scarf fluttering, and walked away from the pitch, leaving behind only the soft echo of his words. The lights flickered once, then faded, as the stadium settled into quiet darkness.
Forward. Just forward. The only move that ever mattered.